Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is February 23rd, and today we're going to take a look at this system sliding out of the northwest into our region. Our next snowmaker on the way for tonight into tomorrow morning. We'll take a brief look at the rest of the country too. Pretty good winter storm ramping up for portions of the USA coming up into the later this week. And then we'll take a look at the next systems that are going to roll in off the Pacific Ocean and warm us up a bit. And then we'll take a look at the further extended forecast as well for the Pacific Northwest. So checking out the infrared satellite here, you can see just how cold it is over the interior of Canada and portions of Montana. And you can see this reverse convergence zone finally tallying off here and moving out over the Pacific Ocean. We had these offshore winds kind of creating this reverse convergence zone effect around the Olympics over the Pacific Ocean there. And then, of course, you can see our next system sliding down out of the northwest here. And then behind that, eventually some of this Pacific Ocean air will start to make its way into the region and warm us up a bit. So jumping right into things here, you can see right now, you can see all the new snowfall for portions of eastern Washington, of course, the higher terrain, and the high clouds from the next system are already starting across the Canadian border into Washington. Checking out the rest of the country briefly before we go back to the Pacific Northwest, you can see you've got winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories for portions of Oklahoma, Texas, on into Missouri and Arkansas. We've got winter storm watches up for the Northeast there as this storm will slide up there and bring some potential heavy snowfall amounts there. Heavy freezing spray warning over the Great Lakes, kind of an unusual warning there. These lakes still have not frozen over yet this year. And a wide swath of wind chill advisories for northern portions of the state all the way down to eastern Colorado and portions of Kansas. Got freeze warnings all the way down into southern California, winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories, high wind warnings as this system just plows through the southwest there. And you can see our wind chill advisories for portions of eastern Washington, Idaho, Panhandle as well. And as well, the freeze warning all the way down to the Oregon coast still going on. So checking out that storm going across the rest of the country here. Check out this freezing rain potential as this moves across from all the way from Texas through Oklahoma, Arkansas, even up towards Missouri and the Ozarks there. And that extends all the way up and towards Pennsylvania there and even towards New York. So that could be pretty disruptive. You can see, I don't know if you're going to get 2 inches of freezing rain, but any accumulation of freezing rain is very damaging to vegetation, causes power outages, and yeah, it can be very disruptive. So checking out the snowfall totals, you can see our next system moving down into Washington, Oregon here, and then you can see the snowfall totals on the north side of that freezing rain and sleet that's going to be accumulating across the Midwest there. And you can see this potentially heavy snowfall for the Northeast. So going back towards Pacific Northwest a little bit more, here's Montana. Look at some of these wind chills they were getting this morning down to negative 50 below zero. So extremely cold out there. Heads up if you guys are traveling eastbound out of Washington, Idaho towards Montana. And this is Spokane talking about that light snow. Anything that falls over there is definitely going to stick, and it doesn't take much to make the roads really slick, especially at these really cold temperatures. And this could be kind of a widespread snowfall through eastern Washington. We'll take a little bit closer look at that coming up too. So here's that system barreling through the southwest. And then you can see our next little, we just get clipped by this system here going into Thursday morning. That's when it's going to cause our next snowmaker across the region. Light snowfall amounts are going to be generally light for most regions, but there is some sign that there might be some heavier amounts north of Seattle. So we'll take a look at that in some detail here too. Here is last night's European run. This has kind of been trending a little bit further widespread snow amounts for the area. You can see some of this kind of showing up in western Washington, even down towards Portland, some of the higher terrain in southwest Washington, of course the Cascades. But you can see eastern Washington getting a pretty good swath of snow here on the European model, and then you'll see the next warmer systems start to work in this weekend for mountain snow and valley rain. And taking a look at this next system here, you can see it's cold air region source is coming off of Russia, Bering Sea out here, and this is eventually going to swing into the Pacific Northwest as this air mass modifies quite a bit as it moves our way. So that's why we're going to warm up on into next week, but still we have to go through the system Thursday and chilly temperatures Friday morning too, which we'll look at coming up. Here's those winds. Finally the offshore winds are dying down now as we go into this morning, and you can see this kind of just some very weak surface response here as this next system slides down, barely shows up on the pressure map as this slides down and brings some snow to areas of the Pacific Northwest, which we're going to look at in detail here coming up. And you can see this really doesn't even show up on the surface map. Here's that system moving in out of the southwest as high pressure is over the region. And as we go into Thursday morning, you can just barely see some very nebulous troughing here. This is going to cause that snowfall as it moves over the area, but it barely registers, mostly an upper air feature. And then as we go into the future here, you'll see the system is going to warm us up as we go into Saturday evening. We'll take a look at that in some detail here coming up. But this was this morning. It was 23 degrees here at my house. It might have got a little bit colder at SeaTac. You can see very chilly in the eastern portions of the state. Some areas below zero for the higher terrain, and especially off towards Idaho and Montana there. But Arctic air is over the region, and you can see we're generally going to remain pretty chilly, and the air is very dry here too. So we're going to look at that in a little more detail. Remember, the air is very dry. That's part of one of the characteristics of an Arctic air mass is this very dry air. Now, looking more closely at some snowfall totals here. Here's the European. It does show a little bit of a highlight of that snowfall around Whidbey Island, Port Townsend area there, and mainly Seattle north. You can see it picking up a little bit of accumulation for Seattle metro area. Maybe even it's a tiny bit down towards Portland too, the higher terrain. Also off on the coast, and you can see eastern Washington getting some, if they get an inch of snow, would be pretty significant just because it's so cold over there, and that would accumulate on I-90 pretty quickly. And then you can see that weak system just kind of slide off to the east there. But now we're looking at the HRRR. So we're going to take a look at some temperatures here. This is going into Thursday morning. Notice we're pretty marginal, right around freezing or just below for a lot of areas when the snow is going to be falling. However, look at the dew points here. Very chilly this morning. Very dry air. So if we get any kind of precipitation falling through this, it will quickly drop that temperature down even further. You get that evaporative cooling, a wet bulb effect, where if you bring any moisture into that, it's going to evaporate and it grabs heat out of the atmosphere pretty efficiently. And then we're going to bring the snow level. It should be at the surface for the snow event here coming into tonight and into tomorrow morning. As you can see, these dew points are plenty dry enough to get it done. Now here's the HRRR. You look closely here and you can see that snowfall band from the Olympics out towards Port Townsend and Whidbey Island there, maybe clipping the San Juans according to the HRRR. So we back up here, you can see the timing of this is overnight, starts tonight and into tomorrow morning. And you can see some accumulations into eastern Washington, even towards the Portland metro area. You can see generally Seattle north according to the HRRR. We're going to take a look at the UW high resolution stuff here in a minute. This is the NAM 3KM. Let's see what it's painting. And you can see basically, again, Seattle northward, pretty good swath there through eastern Washington, maybe up to an inch or so. And it does have a little bit of a highlight there around the Whidbey Island area. And check out this UW stuff coming up here. So this was last night's 1.33 kilometer, that really high resolution stuff. Check out this snowfall band. It's painting for portions of the San Juans, Whidbey Island here, Camano Island, and Port Townsend area. Is they're picking up several inches of snow could possibly fall with this feature here. Shows a little bit of accumulation in Seattle, just a dusting. It would just cover surfaces a little bit here, and really the cutoff is light mounts for Everett generally, but it looks like Arlington North might get an inch or two out of this. And especially as you go a little bit further west, we'll have to see how the models do with this, but you can see some portions of I-5 in Centralia south towards Portland pick up some accumulations from this, even on Highway 12 as you go out towards the ocean there. So you might be wondering why this area seems to be snow shadowed, and that's exactly what's going on here. Those winds are going to be coming out of the northwest here, and going to be some compression winds sinking and warming the area, drying us out a little bit with this moisture. And the moisture amounts are very low with this system. So any kind of drying with that downsloping flow is going to really minimize any kind of accumulation through the Seattle metro area. Now here we're looking at this morning's 4 kilometer run here. As you can see that snowfall overtake the area, some decent precip, amounts into eastern Washington there. And you can see the higher terrain here. It's kind of painting a little bullseye there, but you can see that swath again on the 4 kilometer, a little bit lower resolution, but still showing that for the San Juans and maybe portions of Whidbey Island, Camano Island, Port Townsend, and almost down to the Portland area. Some of the higher terrain for the southwest Washington there. And just to show Oregon, I mean, I know Oregon's been kind of being left out this winter, and this is really no exception. Doesn't look like it's going to get much into. So I think this might be a little wrong. There might be some more snowfall than this is showing for the higher terrain of eastern Oregon. But you can see generally not a big snowfall event for Oregon. And this is showing Portland. This is the European. It does show the potential for a little bit of snowfall accumulation. Temperatures should be cold enough, so you might see a coating of snow down there, or even a couple tenths of inch of snow down towards Portland. Seattle, the European, is a little less happy about it. It's probably because that downsloping flow coming off the Olympic Mountains, keeping us just a little bit too dry to get any kind of measurable precip in the Seattle area. This is Whidbey Island, and the European is a little bit more favorable for that. But the European is not showing the same kind of snowfall totals as the higher resolution UW WRF model is showing. This is for Spokane. You can see this is going to be, you get an inch of snow and it's that cold. It can really coat the surfaces pretty well. Cars drive on it, freezes up right away. So it can be significant. And then as the next system moves in from the Pacific, you get a couple inches of snow out of that too on into later on Sunday for portions of eastern Washington. We'll have to watch that. This is Pendleton. Could get some light snow out of this event too. Then maybe with that next system coming in Saturday night and Sunday. This is Whidbey Island, the HUR. You can kind of see that it's showing total precipitation values up towards a tenth of an inch. Could drop an inch or two of snow depending just how cool the temperatures stay. It shows it pretty marginal, but should be just below freezing for that event here. Now looking off into the extended here, this is current. This was the European, just the standard run from last night. And you can see this system kind of make its way through the mountainous west there and start to eject out over the Midwest here. This wouldn't cause their ice storm. And this is our system here. Again, just some really nebulous troughing here. And then you'll see the Pacific system start to move in towards us here. And maybe we could get a wind event even maybe out of this, depending on some of the tracks of these lows, but nothing too powerful on the horizon as of right now. We'll keep an eye on that. And as you go into the extended again here too, you'll notice the ridging start to build up again a bit here on the European. The GFS has been hinting at the same thing too. So there's a little bit of confidence to that feature returning there on into early March. Now here is the European ensemble control run. There goes our storm. And this is the little clip we get tonight and tomorrow morning. As finally that system exits, then we start to get some more typical Pacific storms through the region here. Then the ridging starts off in the future and it digs a big trough over the west and the southwest again. As you can see, this ridge really displaced up over Alaska there. Somewhat of a La Nina, pattern, a signal, but there's no guarantee on just where this ridge is going to set up. Is that going to allow some cold air into the region again? Are we going to get another snowfall chance there in early March? Or, we have a lot of time to look at that. This is this morning's GFS. Sometimes I just like to take a look at this. The GFS control run gets kind of wonky at times. It brings some interesting solutions here. We can see kind of a deep low approaches this weekend and a system on the periphery of that low there. And then a deeper low approaches the Queen Charlotte's there. So more of a typical pattern there. But watch when we get into early March here, one more low, and then you'll see the ridge start to build similar to what the European has. And then check this out. Arctic air trying to force a trough down again into the west here. Is got an Arctic high again building over British Columbia in early March. And then way off in the future, the GFS is kind of just for entertainment only, gets kind of wonky with a pretty good Arctic high over there. And this huge retrograding low that just kind of moves along the west coast. Pretty high confidence nothing like that's going to happen. But the general pattern where there could be some more Arctic air getting into British Columbia here in early March is a possibility. And so, yeah, we're going to watch that, and I may go up there and stream some snow falling, or I might take a look at some lenticular cloud possibilities as these high clouds move over today. We'll see what goes on. I might do a live stream if I do go take a look at some snow, though. And so, yeah, watch out for portions of eastern Washington tomorrow morning, and especially up towards Whidbey Island, Camino Island, Port Townsend, places mainly Everett north, but Seattle could see a coating of snow overnight tonight. Same with Portland and some places for eastern Oregon, the higher terrain as well. So heads up for that. And if I go live, I will see you guys tonight. And if not, I will talk to you guys tomorrow morning. So thanks for watching.